So we've spoken about ricochet and spiccato, and they're throw-in strokes where we're getting that off-the-string type of sound by throwing the stick onto the string and it bounces back into our hand. So now we're going to talk about Sautille, which is a springing stroke. It's a different technique, quite tricky when you start to do it. So what happens here is that the hair, basically, we're trying to keep it on the string, and by little movements, we set up a spring in the bow. So the bow actually flexes up and down, and by doing that, it lifts the hair up off the string, so it sounds off the string. So what we've got to try and do is get that stick to spring. It sounds like this when we're there. That sort of sound. And it's quite tricky. You can see it's quite a small movement here. So the best way to think about it is if maybe it's driven from your wrist, that you're knocking on a door, this type of movement, up and down. And don't forget that we have to go up as well as down. It's not just down. If you're locked down, we won't be able to get that movement. So up and down, up and down, up and down. And then maybe think about that you've got something slightly disgusting on your little finger. You've touched something and it's a bit gloop. You want to flick it off. So you're flicking it off into the corner. So flick, flick, flick. Flick, flick, flick. So it's, again, it's not from the elbow, it's coming from your hand. It's that wrist and it's just flicking. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to stay on the string. Don't think about jumping. We're not jumping off the string. We're staying in the string. And we're just going to play semi-quavers. Really important that it stays rhythmic. So we're going to go like that. And we're going to be doing that in the middle of the bow. We did spiccato down here at the balance point of the bow, the middle of the bow by weight, but now we're doing it basically in the middle of the bow by length. And each bow has a sweet spot because they all slightly curve differently, they all like to spring differently, so you'll feel eventually exactly the right point where it likes to spring best, but it'll be somewhere in the middle here. So we get this rhythmic, and you can see that my wrist, only my wrist and my fingers following. Only my wrist. If you've got too much movement, too much bow, it's not going to work. And the other thing is we have to have a really relaxed arm. If you're tense or you're holding your bow too tight, it's not going to bounce either. So I suggest we just practice upper scale, semi-quavers in the string, little tiniest amount of bow possible. And you'll begin to see that the bow's flexing up and down, up and down, up and down. When you've mastered that, just try and release your fingers a little bit. Don't hold on to the bow too tight. Release the pressure and you might find that it comes off the string. And you get that sort of sound. So you'll find this is quite a difficult stroke to achieve in the beginning. You practice it. Teacher might adjust some weight, might adjust the fingers. One day, after a few months, you'll just wake up and you can do it. And you don't know why, but it'll be somewhere the weight's just shifted or you're just doing the right amount of bow. So don't give up. Keep going on with it. It's a great stroke.